Welcome to Total War Warhammer. That's Total War Warhammer. Take out one of those wars, you have Total Warhammer, but you know, everybody wants their brand on the title. So this is a Total War game set in the Warhammer universe, and I don't know too much about the Warhammer lore and history and things like that, so I'm not going to be able to talk too much about that, but I do know quite a bit about Total War. I've been following them right along. Haven't played the most recent ones, but I've played up to like Shogun 2, Empire, things like that. This seems to be a pretty good one of these games. It's a little bit streamlined to focus more and more on the war, which seems to be a pattern with the series. They're kind of taking out some of the campaign strategy and making it more like, hey, just earn money, build armies, and attack other settlements, which is fine. And this seems to be gearing very much in that direction. So we'll go into the campaign here. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about what makes a Total War game because I could be here all day if I do that. So I'm going to focus on what makes this different in the pantheon of Total War games. So right off the bat, you'll see that there's only 4 factions to choose from. Usually a Total War game has like tons of factions to choose from. They may add more in DLC because Creative Assembly is pretty famous for adding pretty substantial DLC to their Total War games. But right now you only have the Empire, the Dwarves, the Greenskins, which are Orcs, and the Vampire Counts. The Empire plays the most like a regular Total War civilization. You have your cavalry, your sword guys, your archers. Not too much in the way that really distinguishes them. They do have some magic units and things like that kind of make them a little bit unique, but in terms of playing them on especially the campaign map, they're pretty much straightforward. The Dwarves, on the other hand, they don't have any cavalry. They seem to generate a lot of gold, which is a good thing. They also move a little bit slower on the campaign map because they're Dwarves, they're short. What are you going to do? They have really strong siege weapons. They have these flying siege weapons that you can see here, and just a lot of like cannons and catapults and things like that, and armored infantry, heavy armor. They also have this thing called the Book of Grudges, which is like starts getting added to as enemy factions start like attacking you, or you start attacking them and you lose or something like that. You'll get this grudge added to the book that's like, hey, destroy 3 armies from this faction because they're jerks and your people want you to do it. If you don't, you start to lose obedience in all of your settlements, and you start to lose money and risk revolts and things like that. The Greenskins, which are the Orcs, they are very much war-oriented. The other civilizations, they have technology researchable right out of the gate. You kind of have to get to a certain point with these in order to start researching technologies. What really makes these guys unique is this fightiness mechanic their leaders have. If you have a bunch of victories in combat and everything with your leaders, fightiness goes up, and they'll actually spawn an entire, this thing right here, a wog or something like that. And it's like a whole other army that follows around your main army, which makes them extremely powerful. If you meet up with one of these and you only have a single army with you, you're gonna die. They have big siege units. Most of the siege units are kind of like in their characteristic. They have like big trolls and giant orcs and things like that, which is pretty cool. On the other hand, if you have low fightiness, your armies start fighting each other, and you start losing units if you're not constantly in combat, so it can be a little annoying, but it's like a push-pull kind of thing. Vampire Counts, these are actually, I think, my favorite civ in this particular Total War game. They're very heavy use of magic, and they have the ability to raise the dead, which effectively means you can instantly raise a pretty good size army without having to wait for a turn on the campaign map, which is a pretty big deal. This is actually who I'm going to play with it during the introduction, and you can see exactly how they work. So we're going to get in here. When you choose different leaders, depending on which one, which faction you choose, doesn't really matter. You still start at the same spot, but you can see I start with these units with this guy, these units with this guy. I'm going to choose the faction leader, and I'm going to go enable introduction so we can get right into a battle. So for those of you that don't know, Total War games are split between real-time huge battles like hundreds of units versus each other, and a turn-based campaign map where you conquer settlements and do diplomacy, trade, things like that. And it's actually a pretty good combination of real-time and turn-based action that I've really come to enjoy. Every faction has this intro cinematic, and this is like your advisor. He seems to be the same guy for every faction depending on which you choose. Your advisor will help you early on in the game, giving you tips on what to do, and he's pretty valuable for somebody that's not used to Total War games.
Some fools think it worth saving, but there are beings who wish to bring about an eternal night. I am a bearer of law to those with such power. Vampire counts of the von Carstein bloodline. My master, Manfred, has returned from the dead once more. He marches on the von Carstein ancestral pile of Castle Dragonhof. For I have brought him ill news that a master necromancer has claimed the fortress as his own. Manfred must retake his ancient stronghold, and either destroy the usurper within, or bind him to his will.
Feeble witch, come hence from my fortress, and kneel before thy lord. Drakenhof stones are bound by mortar of mine own blood, while yours shall be sprayed across the battlefield as I wrench the head from thine shoulders.
Your forces begin their attack, my lord. See for yourself.
Okay, so when you start these introductions out, you actually have access to a few units. I've got my Manfred von Carstein, who's the faction leader, and then I've got another unit here. They just want me to control the camera so we can move forward. So we'll start moving up. So what makes these guys pretty unique is that all of their units are undead, which means they don't really rout in battle, which is a big mechanic in the Total War games. If a unit gets too overwhelmed, they'll rout and run from the battlefield. It seems like they need to be totally wiped out when you're using these units. They got to be totally wiped out. If you're against them, they got to be totally wiped out. Another big thing is they have these flying units that these guys just harass. There are other units that are pretty stronger that land and they attack. So I'm joining the battle here. I don't even have control over these units. Usually you'd have control over all the units on the battlefield that were of your ilk. But this is kind of like showing you the ropes of these games. Gives me a chance to talk a little bit about it. Yeah, so and they have these big guys here. These are kind of like their siege weapons. These fucking guys. These guys seem to be fucking invincible, which is cool if you're playing as them. But I can't even imagine if you'd attack them. I haven't attacked any of those guys on the battlefield to see what they were like. They're rare though. You have to really build up your settlement in order to get access to them. Let's move it a little bit faster so we can finish this up. So you can see right above every unit this is their health. That's how many units are still alive in the unit, and then below it is their that's their like aptitude to fight. So if I mouse over, you can see the first thing is sword infantry. That tells me what kind of unit it is. Under there it says strong binding. That's how much faith they have in battle, I guess, is the best way to put that. And then under that there's that thing that says animated, and that's how tired they are from fighting. It's comparable to the non-undead units, but it is a little bit different. And when I say non-undead, I mean the Dwarves in the Empire and the Orcs, who are not resurrected dead. We'll move into the fortification here. I mean, this part of it is pretty much the same from other Total War games. The battle map and everything like that, navigating it. One thing that I've always liked about these Total War games is they by default put the camera control on the WASD keys. So it's almost like a first-person shooter type of control scheme. Just makes moving around the map a whole lot easier. And of course, you have the controls up here to make it go faster or slower.
Your presence can sway the battle, sire. Your words and actions can inspire the troops before you. Use your influence and abilities. The heart of the city is within sight, my lord.
I like the art in this game, like these, especially when you're attacking these cities. Like, I'm not actually going to go to that huge castle or anything, but it's cool to see. And I'm assuming it's pretty in line with the way Warhammer looks and feels. I was actually surprised that this game was kind of medieval in its setting. I didn't realize Warhammer was one of those universes. I think I'm mostly familiar with like Warhammer 40k, which is futuristic a little bit. Playing this game though, I'm like, man, they really took this to the next level in my opinion. Like, yeah, it looks and plays a lot like a Total War game, but at the same time, it's a breath of fresh air for a series that I kind of felt was stagnating a little bit. Them doing the sequels like Shogun 2 and Rome 2 and stuff like that, I was like, alright, you're kind of running out of ideas, it seems. Empire Total War was like this massive game that kind of was a little too much. Like, it was spread a little bit too thin, in my opinion. So then I kind of took it back with Shogun 2, which I thought was an amazing game. And so that was it. Basically what I did there was I both killed off all of the enemy, but then I also got into this courtyard area, which if you get enough units in there, you start capturing the settlement. So now we should go to the campaign map. And I'll show you a little bit there. show you about raising dead, and then I'll show you a little bit of the other civilizations probably too.
I thank you for your offer of immortality, sire. But I shall forego the blood kiss for now. I'm more useful to you alive, for there is much to be done.
Yes, he's my advisor. He's going to tell me some tips here and missions to do.
Back to his fortress, and Drakenhof is secure. But enemies abound on all sides. See for yourself.
These are rival vampires.
Retreated to Castle Tempelhof, a fortress he wrongly claims as his own. It will take some effort to wrench him out.
These guys over here.
Passage to the west is blocked by the Dark Lords of Schwarzhafen, sire. They have feuded with Van Kruger in the past, and no doubt watch your struggle against him keenly.
And then the dwarves over here.
The Dwarves control the mountain passes to the south. They are no friends of your kind, and will strike out.
I mean, like, all the art, like, that looks dwarven. These settlements look undead when you get in here. They look creepy and shit. So I think that's really cool. And of course, the campaign maps always looked really good in these games.
A necromancer that needs bringing to heel. You must advance against Tempelhof, seize his possessions, and turn the dead against their former master.
So my first order of business here would be to attack these Tempelhof people. And this is my army right now. It can be selected, left clicking, select the armies of an enemy, so this is where that wants me to go. Over here.
March.
Not sure.
Excellent. The enemy scries your movements. The necromancer will no doubt be planning counter-maneuvers of his own. Your forces are depleted by battle, sire. Yet such a shortfall is easily solved by your kind. Raise the slain to fight at your banner. March upon the enemy using their own warriors.
So this is the most unique thing about the vampires, is that, oh, they're not letting me do it. Raise the dead. Maybe I will after a couple of turns here. Make some, so undead skeleton warriors, sword guys. These are zombies, which are really slow and lumbering and kind of like cannon fodder. They're not really that great, but these guys are your traditional like frontline sword guys, even though they're skeletons. We'll make a few.
Your army must remain in place whilst raising new bodies to fight. Soon it will be swollen with the dead.
So I think that's something new too. I don't know if the most recent Total War games have allowed you to basically make an army on the run.
You can restore the castle back to its former.
As soon as this guy's done talking, I guess we gotta upgrade some buildings. So I could talk about this real quick. This game is kind of province driven. So Castle Drakenhof, Eschen, and Waldenhof, which is this one up here, this is Eschen, these are all in a province. So buildings that I make at any of them, especially military buildings, will be accessible across the province. So you don't have to build a barracks here, a barracks here, and a barracks here to make units. I just build one here, and then I can make units at any of these locations. If you control all of them, you also get to issue a commandment, which maybe we'll see in a little while here. It gives me access to it. But I'm going to upgrade this to this barrow to the next level unit creation building.
Seek ways to further even your vast knowledge.
Then of course we have technologies. Each civilization kind of has the same technology, except for this one. It's a little bit different setup here. You research books which give you access to all of these things. So you kind of go through and see like recruitment costs minus 10% for skeletons. I'm going to make a lot of skeletons, so I'll definitely want that research, that technology. So I'll do that, and then in 3 turns this will be research, and then I'll be able to choose a research in this field of study. It kind of goes over here too. There's a lot of stuff. At a certain point, it just seems like you're like, oh, I just need to research technology, so I'll just click one, and you're not really paying too much of attention because, for the most part, it's kind of like, +2 and 10%. It's not like these huge, giant leaps forward or anything like that.
In time, the knowledge they gain will surely aid your cause. My lord, there is nothing more you can do now. Let us await your enemy's next move.
I'm gonna go down to low settings so this guy maybe stops bugging me so much. So if I click on this, you could see, I'll wait until next turn. Oh, this guy's coming to attack me. So what we have,
Yeah, I know. Knows his position.
Alright, so I just got issued a mission. Defeat the army belonging to the following faction in battle, Timpenhof, and if I win, I'll get 100 dark magic. So, up here we have, this is how much I have right now in my coffers. This is how much I'm going to gain next turn. Usually this is gold, and in the other 3 civilizations, it is gold. But for the vampires, for some reason, they decided to call it dark magic. But it's just gold. It's just a different skinning of the same thing. Let's see what we can build here. So we'll take a look here. We can build this sinister copse, which is going to give me access to dire wolves and fell bats. We can build this, which is going to give me access to crypt ghouls. That's under the military tab. Over here I can't do anything yet, but you can see that we can build armories, libraries, which give me extra experience for my recruited units and things like that. Then over here, these are infrastructure things. Like this gives me plus 20 growth to the province. So more units, more people will come to the province, and I can upgrade the buildings faster. This gives me more vampiric corruption, which I'll explain that in a little while. More income, and another thing that presents more income, but this also gives me public order. I'm going to do this because I want as much dark magic early on as I can. So I'll explain this a little bit here. You can get a quick view of all of this stuff here, or you can take a look at it over here. The surplus, that's how much people are coming into your, that's how many people are coming into your settlement. As soon as it reaches 2 population, I can upgrade this. Here it's 4, you see a little 4 here. This is just a bigger town, basically. I can build it into like a fortress. Below here you have the tax province, which is either on or off, which is something that they've definitely streamlined more as they move forward with Total War games. Sometimes you used to be able to get a little bit more micromanagey with it, like say I want this settlement to be taxed 10% and this settlement to be taxed 20%. Now it's either on or off, and this has a lot to do with public order. So right now with public order, I've got base of 8, and then next turn I'm going to get an extra 8. That's how unruly or ruly your population is, how happy they are, basically. And if it gets down to like negative 100, they're going to start to revolt. You don't want any of that to happen, so you can do things like stop taxing them if they're unhappy, or just figure out ways to make them happier. Then we have corruption. For vampires, you want as much vampiric corruption as possible, and for nothing, you don't want chaos corruption for anything. Chaos is like this campaign moment that happens partway through the campaign where the evil chaos faction starts coming in and attacking everybody, basically. There's nobody that they're friends with. And then down here you have these commandments, which I talked about. These only get unlocked when I've captured all of the villages within this province. So you get things like more public order, that's across the board, the more growth, tax rate, and unit experience, and you can choose one of those once I've captured all of these 3 settlements. Whew! There's a lot to go over here. But that's probably all I'm going to talk about specifics with management. There's a ton of other stuff. but at the same time, not really. I mean, here's the diplomacy. This will only show civilizations I've come across so far. It's broken up into undead, dwarves, empire, and greenskins, which are the orcs. You know, this gets pretty long. It tells you how many settlements they have. So if you're going to attack somebody, you don't want to attack somebody that's too strong. That'll just mop the floor with you. And you get your strength rating, which is here. The lower your strength rating, the actually better it is. I'm the sixth strongest civilization here on the map. Let's take a look at the entire campaign map real quick. I'll zoom out. So it's pretty big. And it's the same campaign map no matter what you do, no matter what civilization you choose. So the vampires always start here. The orcs always start down here. The dwarves always start here. And the empire always starts over here. This is chaos. Chaos starts coming in from up here, or maybe over here somewhere, something like that. And, you know, it's pretty big. I'll show you, I'll zoom out as far as I can, and then zoom all the way over here. So that's the ocean. As far as that goes. You can go all the way down here. As far as that goes. Yeah, this is where the orcs are. This is where the dwarves are. When you start a campaign with them, this is where chaos is. It's all red and scary. And then the empire is somewhere over here. Yeah, so I'm going to attack this army. Can do one more battle with the vampires. Oh, here we go. Alright, this is what I wanted to talk about. So, when you're just sitting here, an army on the campaign map, you can recruit soldiers right here, or the vampires, they have this raise dead option. This relates directly to if there has been a huge battle in the region. So if there had been a big battle here, I'd have all of these other units to recruit. Some of them are pretty powerful, like heavy cavalry, heavy infantry, and things like that. But what's even better about this is if I say, oh, I want some spear guys and some skeletons, I click raise right now and I immediately get those units. Normally if I had recruited these with any other civilization, or normally if I had recruited them with even vampires, I would have had to wait at least one turn for them to appear into my army, but this gives me them immediately, which is a huge advantage if you're getting chased, or if you're just got cornered, or you're garrisoned inside a settlement that's under siege. You can immediately raise some units and get them, and hopefully turn the tide. It kind of makes them kind of OP on the campaign map in a little way, but there's counters to it. You know, they're soldiers. They're not that great. Like, these zombies really suck. There's really no armor on a lot of these units. Like, these skeletons don't have armor and things like that. So there's definitely a push-pull with that kind of mechanic. But I think it's a really cool idea that makes these units, this particular civilization, pretty unique. Yeah, I guess we'll just attack these guys. I'll probably be able to wipe them pretty easily. So when you attack, you have the option of attacking now, auto-resolve through artificial intelligence, or retreat. And then this is your, like, this is my powers in yellow or orange, and their powers in red. So they get this tiny little sliver over here, so I'm going to destroy them pretty easily. I'm actually going to auto-resolve this, just see how that goes. And I totally destroyed them. Then, at the end, you get a little bit of loot. And then you can decide, oh, do you want to return the captives to their enemy? Do you want to kill them and get leadership? Or do you want to replenish your units? I usually choose replenish when I'm playing these guys, just so my army can get built up faster. And then I completed that objective. So I got some black magic, or dark magic, whatever. And then I got a new mission to attack Eshin. You don't always keep getting missions. Eventually you have to start figuring out how you want to expand on your own. But it does kind of help you out with the early game to be like, oh, why don't you take this? That's a pretty good idea, right? You should probably take that one, so on and so forth. And so that's going to do it with, I'm probably going to keep playing this game, with the vampires. Load up my... Let's start with the greenskins first. Just to show you real quick. Greenskins and dwarves don't get along very well. They start pretty close to each other. So as you can see, I'm up here. I've got these. Oh, I'm actually doing pretty poorly in this particular campaign. Oh no, wait a minute. This isn't me. This is me down here. I'm the dwarves here. I mean, I'm the orcs. So this is my main army, one of them anyway, and I've got full fightiness here. So, oh wait, that's actually my warg. This is my main army, and next to it is my warg. I have full fightiness, which is displayed here. This means I've been in a lot of combat, and I'm such a badass orc that this whole other army of other orcs decided, was like, oh, I'm gonna follow this guy no matter what. So that makes the orcs pretty powerful once you get to that point where you have that. However, I need to maintain this high fightiness in order to keep this army, which can be kind of tough if there isn't a whole lot of you know, armies around to attack. And then if it gets too low here, like down to here, I start to lose units because they're fighting amongst themselves because they're so hungry for war. I think you started here, which is my main settlement. Yeah, I mean, other than that, you know, it plays pretty much the same. I'm probably gonna go after this place because look at all that gold that I'd get from there, and then probably Barakavar, and I'll probably have to fight the Imperials soon, which are these guys over here. And I still got to keep pushing up here into other orc factions and the dwarves. So it's pretty interesting. So to give you this an idea of where I'm starting here, you can see I'm here. I started with the vampires like up here-ish. Then we'll quickly jump into dwarves, which this game's really not going in my favor right now. I might start over with the dwarves. Alright, so I guess maybe I turn it around. I'm actually doing alright. You start here at Kazara, blah 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 blah, and then you kind of move this way. And really the big disadvantage the dwarfs have is they're really slow on the battle map. They can't move very far every turn. But, oh man, I probably should have been talking about this sooner. All of the units have this ability to use these underground tunnels that like ancient dwarves had made, which allows them to move much greater distances every turn on the battle map and not worry about environmental obstacles like these mountains or this river or something like that. Let's see if... So you can see this is my range here. This orange yellowish aura, that's as far as I can move with this army. But if I put them into this stance down here, use underways, you can see that that has expanded to this circle. So now I can move way over here when previously I'd only been able to move here, or I could move over here when that wasn't even close to being an option. So I'll take that off again. See, you can actually you can see it with the mouse. See, that's use underways on. That's an off. It's really a neat way to use some of the Warhammer lore in the context of, you know, just the map movement. It also leads to situations where, like previously, I'm fighting these guys right here, these orcs, and their army was here. So I was like, oh, I got some time to build up my army here before they attack me. But then the next move, they were literally right here. And then they attacked both of these settlements before I was able to build an army big enough to stop them. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. It's a cool thing for you, but at the same time, it gives your enemy just as much of an advantage. And Book of Grudges is down here, which I mentioned before. So these are the things that I need to take care of, like basically transgressions against my Dwarven tribe. I gotta reach rank 15 with one Master Engineer character. That's really not a transgression, that's more of like just a mission. Defeat the following Lord's army in battle: Grimgor, Ironhide. So I have been having a lot of conflicts with him. So basically, the people are like, these guys are assholes, take them out. And that's their happiness is displayed up here. So there's 3 chunks here of this bar. Right now I'm in current total severity level 11. So I've got diplomatic relations with the dwarves +5 and public order +1. So I'm doing okay. But you can see I'm right there on the edge. I'm about to go over into this section, which gives me some minuses here: minus public order, minus leadership, and minus relations, and then it can get even worse after this. So you have to keep doing these grudges in order to, you know, maintain order in your civilization. I'm not even going to show you the empire because it's extremely basic. There's really nothing. It's very simple, but yeah, if you've played a Total War game, you know pretty much how the Empire works. There is some magic, but the magic works on this thing called the winds of magic or something like that. So sometimes it can be favorable, sometimes it can't be. I haven't gotten too far into magic, really. There are wizards, and some of your leaders, especially with the vampires, they use magic to cast spells on the battlefield. But, you know, I'm pretty far into a lot of the campaigns, and I really haven't gotten too much into magic. You can see the magic flowing here. Maybe later on it gets a lot more in-depth with magic, depending on which civilizations you choose. But right now, it's just, you know, hasn't been that big of a deal. I wish I could show you a dwarf battle, but that would probably take too long. They have these cool cannons, siege weapons. They've got actual firearms, explosives. They're pretty cool. But like I said, they're slow on the campaign map, and that can actually be a pretty big detriment if you're chasing down an enemy army, or you're trying to get back to your base before an army attacks you. It can end up being an issue. Yeah, I guess that's gonna do it. I think this is a pretty good game, and it doesn't really do a whole lot to differentiate itself from the Total War games the previous Total War games, but I do like the way that it's going. It kind of opens up a lot of doors for the Total War series that I think has in some ways been stagnating a little bit. I could totally see them doing Lord of the Rings. There's no reason for them to not go into a completely different direction, like do Star Wars or Star Trek or some other Battlestar Galactica or something like that. I think it would be really cool to see what they can do with this formula, but in a different setting. Because at the same time, while there are a lot of differences here, it still plays largely the same. Not that I'd want them to completely mix it up, but I'd like to see them take a couple more risks and see where they can go with it. And you know, they're famous for supporting their games post-launch, so there'll probably be some DLC. I don't know if they'll add another campaign map and a big expansion, how many civilizations they'll add, if they'll do that or anything. But there was one other thing that the game sometimes does, and that's issue you a story mission, quote unquote. And there's not too much story to it, but sometimes they can be really far away. So I don't think I have one here. No, I don't have one here, but let me show you a campaign map here. So I have one with one of my vampire games going, and you start up here-ish, and the campaign, the quest is way down here, and I don't see any way that I'm gonna be able to get any type of army from here to fight the battle. So it's gonna be a long time anyway before I get down to this mission, and it seems kind of weird that the mission is so far away. I've heard other people complain that there are other missions that do the same thing, like you get this story mission and it's like way across the map and you can never get there. But it is kind of cool that they bring up some of these story moments, but at the same time, come on guys, put it a little bit closer, make it accessible. Total War games have done that from time to time, where they've given you a quest that is super far away from where you are right now, and a lot of times I just forget about them. I never end up doing them, but it's a goal at least, I guess. I guess that's one gripe I have about the game. Other than that, I definitely recommend picking this up if you're a fan of Total War. If you think the Warhammer aesthetic is interesting, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't pick this game up. Alright, thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the video.